Hello, welcome back to episode 9 of my origin story. My name is Nora, and we're talking about high school. So, before I get into the whole next bit of the story, I have to tell you guys something. I was helping my good buddy Denise, who I had mentioned in previous episodes that I knew from high school and from horseback riding, move over the last few weekends. And this we were moving, and one of the things I was helping her with was she had these like dresser drawers moved out of her dresser. So we're moving them all, loading them into the back of her car, and one of the drawers is like her little underwear drawer. And while we're putting in the back of her car, I see her start like rummaging around in her underwear drawer. And I'm thinking like, oh, is she like gonna pull out a sex toy or a vibrator, or is she like something like that, like something taboo is about to come out? And she looks at me with a big old smile and she goes, "These are your panties." And she holds up a pair of my old underwear from high school. And they're like these kind of bluish gray granny panties that I actually kind of remember these particular panties, but and I was like, "Why do you still have that? Why did you keep those?" And she goes, "Because I keep everything." And I was like, "Why did you have my underwear?" And I'm sure like something happened where I lent her a pair of clean underwear while, we were on some camping trip or some event or something happened like that. But the fact that she kept them for, you know, like almost 30 years, I mean 25 years or whatever, is pretty amazing. And I just said, well, I wear boxer briefs now, so I don't need them back. But anyways, so just the fact that I've been talking about high school, and then here comes an artifact of my high school panties back into play, was pretty amazing. So anyways, so back to the story. I'm in my junior year, so 11th grade, and that would be 16, 17 years old. And I was, getting my social stuff on, making friends, and this new girl transferred to our school, and her name was Sasha. And I think she transferred from like LA or something like that. And I remember she drove a black Toyota RAV4, which was like really cool car to have. And she was very open about the fact that she was queer and she was out about it. And this is the thing about living in Southern California, living in LA, is that the film industry is ubiquitous. It is everywhere. Like I mentioned before, My So-Called Life was filmed at San Pedro High School, so was Party of Five, so were other things. And celebrities are kind of everywhere. I mean, they film stuff locally around San Pedro all the time because it's got a lot of unique geographic locations. Pirates of the Caribbean was filmed out here, Casper the Friendly Ghost, the movie Twins, 50 First Dates. I mean, I could go on and on. So, anyways, so she was claiming that she had. Let me back up a little bit. Um, I don't know to verify any of these claims, but the movie The Faculty had just come out starring a bunch of people, especially Clea Duvall, and that kind of put her on the map. And Sasha was saying that Clea Duvall was her ex-girlfriend, and she was very adamant in that. And she had sort of not necessarily receipts, but she did have some kind of proof around that. She had mentioned to me that there was an interview in a magazine about the faculty, and someone during the interview had asked Clea, are you in a relationship, or is there anyone special in your life right now? And Sasha said that she was actually sitting outside in the waiting room during that interview, waiting for Clea Duvall. And Clea said, I don't want to talk about that right now. Now, I went and found that magazine, and that is word for word what was said in the magazine. So I don't know if anybody out there knows Clea Duvall. Maybe they could find out. I remember her last name. I'm not going to dox her on social media, but I remember. But so for me, as like this little budding queer, and she was very good looking, super hot, had such confident energy, was so into so self-assured about her sexuality and stuff like that. So I, of course, had a massive, massive crush, but she was like way too cool for us, little Redondo Beach folks. She was like a Hollywood, dated celebrities, blah, blah, blah. So I really didn't have a shot with her at all, which, was kind of a bummer. I don't think we were even really good friends. I remember like orbiting her, but not having a lot of success. So I think I kind of just like moved on and went back to my friend group, and, pined away after the, senior lesbians that went to prom together, Selena and Marissa, and, was kind of like, well, what can I do? And so I was trying to find something to do, and I wasn't getting great grades at that time because I was busy, as I mentioned before, figuring myself out. I did end up joining academic decathlon in the C category. So like they have the A grade average students, B grade average students, and C grade average students. And I was a C grade average student. But so I joined academic decathlon, which was great. Taught me interviewing skills. I got a gold medal in interviewing, and you learn a lot of different, like, really practical life skills. So I highly recommend it. And being in the C category was kind of funny. It's just amusing for me. But the other thing I was really interested in was they had a Marine Corps junior ROTC program at that school. And I have always been fascinated by uniforms, by power, by the idea of power exchange, all of that kind of stuff. And I also just like the idea of like order and drills, and this was just very appealing to me. I think part of the reason I love uniforms so much is because they are sort of genderless. So like, who doesn't love a woman in uniform? But just uniforms in general are great. But my mother had very, very strong anti-military feelings. So she actually had said if any of us ever joined the military, she would, quote, kill us herself before anything bad could happen to us. So that was like a strong no, which was kind of a bummer for me, because I really was drawn to that kind of order and also some of the benefits. So I lied and told my mom that my guidance counselor had suggested I join ROTC because I wasn't getting great grades and that maybe it would help me. And she surprisingly didn't really push back, which was good. And my father was all about it. My father had been in the Army. He used to jump out of planes. He was like trained as like a spy intercept person. And he wasn't like a big military man. He actually joined the Army to avoid the draft. He joined the Army Reserves. But he wasn't anti-military either. And so, and of course, anybody who knows, like, the Marine Corps has the best uniforms. They've got that blue pants with the red stripe down the side for their dress blues. And just like they have the sexiest uniforms. So I was stoked on this. And so I did. I joined Marine Corps ROTC, and I got, my camis, and then I got my dress blues. I don't even remember where you get your uniforms from, but you get very, strict how you learn all the ranks and how to tuck in your pants and everything. And they even let you play with like fake guns. We'd have these like fake rifles, and you would learn how to like do different moves with them and stuff. So that was like a dream come true for me in that sense. And we would do drills, and it was a lot of fun. And I did get caught once wearing my hat. I've been wearing a hat because I don't know what's going on with my hair, but wearing my cami hat, my camouflage hat backwards. So you're supposed to wear it forward. And I was like fucking around in class and had it on backwards. And one of the like officers, which is just like an upperclassman, saw me doing that and was like really, really mad about it. So I got busted for that. And anyways, later I got also some people kind of got into it. I wasn't exactly in the like following the rules military part. I just mostly was there for the uniforms. So, I didn't last too long, but we might talk about that more later. But anyways, so I was just kind of cruising about, going through school. I had been really struggling at that point to find myself in school and feeling really kind of stupid in a lot of ways because I was struggling with schoolwork, and I started to become a little bit more of a stoner, like smoking a lot more pot, even like while I was at school, to sort of cope with that anxiety and stuff. And I did have one history teacher tell me that she just said, look, high school is not for everyone. It doesn't mean you're stupid. Like, just because you're not getting great grades in high school doesn't mean you're going to fail in life. And that made a huge, huge difference for me, just to have one adult say, I see you. I see you're intelligent. I see that you're struggling. That doesn't mean that you can't learn. It's just high school is not the right environment for you. And so that was helpful for me. And so I was kind of, wandering about and trying to figure out what to do with my life. And there was this video rental store about 3 or 4 blocks from where my mom lived. And, back in the day when you used to still rent videos. And me and my friends would go there occasionally to get a video. And I went there once, and the person working there, who, like, I probably wouldn't even notice, but she apparently immediately clocked me as a little baby dyke. Like, I guess something about the way I moved in the world at that time, and still now, but like signaled that I was probably not heterosexual. And she had like very short shaved head, and I think it was dyed like bright pink or bright orange, and kind of very loud, aggressive personality. And she immediately just sort of like made a beeline for me. And I was there with a couple other friends, but she started hitting on me. And I'm sorry to say this, but I was like sort of like meh about her. But the truth is like that was the first female that I had seen in a very long time that was interested in dating me. And so I was like, sure, why not? I think I was about 17. She was, I think, around 21. I'm pretty sure she was 21. Yeah, her name was Regina, and she was a very interesting character. She lived with her mom up in some Section 8 housing, so like low-income housing, or like what people might call the projects. Her brother was a gangbanger who was sort of in and out. His baby mama and their 2 kids lived at her house, but occasionally the baby mama would disappear for days, and so Regina's mother just took care of the kids, and it was a small little 2-bedroom apartment, lots of chaos. Regina didn't have a driver's license, but she had graduated high school, which in my mind was like a step up from Ray, who dropped out of high school. So I'm like, okay, whatever. That sounds super arrogant, but I'm just a whatever kid. So we sort of started dating, and I would spend a lot of time at her house and hang out. And she liked to drink a lot, but she was very nice when she was drinking, so I didn't mind it too much. And I actually ended up at one point getting lice, and I could not figure out what was going on for a very long time, but I got lice from her house, like from the kids, and it took me a long time to figure it out, and it was so bad by the time, but I was like, my head was itching and I couldn't figure it out. By the time I figured it out, it was like really, really bad, and she had it too, but she had short hair and blah, 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 blah. So anyways, Regina and I were kind of fooling around, and a couple other things happened that year that were not great for the queer community, and I just want to mention them to give a little more context of what was going on. So one thing that happened was Ellen DeGeneres came out, and that was in 1997, and it was a really big deal, and it didn't go well at the time. So she came out, she had a very popular sitcom show called Ellen, and she came out on the show and also in real life at the same time, and the show essentially got canceled, and she sort of got canceled for a while too. So there was it didn't go well for her career. And the other thing that happened was in 1998. That was the year that Matthew Shepard was killed. And so I'm not going to talk about that. You can go look it up if you want to, if you're not familiar with Matthew Shepard. I think most people are. But so this was, and this was a time when being gay publicly was having visible backlash. There weren't like gay athletes that were out. There weren't gay movie stars that were out. We had films with queer representation, I'll tell you some of the ones that we watched that were like my favorite. Like we were so desperate for anything. So the big ones that were circulating were like The Incredibly True Adventures of Two Girls in Love, Gia, which is with Angelina Jolie, based on a model that, well, I won't give it away, but Gia, Bound with Jennifer Tilly, and I think it's Gina Gershon. High Art, I think, had some queer content in it, but now I'd have to go back and watch it again. And Foxfire, which Foxfire I don't think has any like actual queer content, but it's heavily queer coded, and Jenny Shimizu is in it. And I actually believe that that is where Angelina Jolie and Jenny Shimizu met and dated briefly. So even just that sort of like a known queer actor model was on a show. But so we were desperate for representation, and there definitely weren't any people on TV that represented other kinds of queerness, unless it was like a trope. But there weren't like a lot, like there's not a lot of butch or mask representation. So anyways, so yeah, so check those out if you haven't. I know now we have lots more representation, but that's like, this is part of being in family. We call, I think I said this before, code word for queer is family. Like, oh, your family. It's a way to identify to other queer people at that time without saying I'm gay or I'm queer or outing yourself. It's just like, oh, I got you. I recognize that you're one of my people. So, yeah, so I had a girlfriend, so that was very exciting. And I pretty much had, like I said, just accepted that I was going to be dating women from that point forward. And, Regina was nice. She was fine, but it was still a little bit weird to me. It was a little bit weird to me that Ray wanted to date me being so much older than me. And it was a little bit weird that Regina wanted to date me being that much older than me. But, like when pickings are scarce, you sort of take what you can get. So I'm going to stop here for today because I've been crazy busy, and I apologize for not posting as consistently. I think I'm going to try to pick like one day a week and post just so it's consistent. But things are ramping up with my project, and there's just lots of like business stuff I need to deal with. So I will try to do better. I just wanted to get on here and get something out today. And I will talk to you guys soon. Thanks for tuning in.